What's up, everybody? This is Ace from Ace Corner Talk. Just wanted to say good afternoon. Hope all is well. Hope everybody's in good health. Just want to talk to you today about depression. Um, Although many people suffer from this illness, it hits everyone's doorstep. So today I definitely wanted to get into the topic of depression. Again, hope everybody's in good, decent health. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to get my computer working decent. Cool. So, thank you to all of those who have subscribed and pressed the like button. Thank you to those who have subscribed to Ace Corner Talk. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in with me. Alright, so I do have the chat room open so I can converse back and forth. Just wanted to shout out my wife. Peace to you. Queen C, what's good with you? Wanted to shout out another one of Baltimore's YouTubers, Queen Karasi. Peace to you. Wanted to shout out Truthfully Honest. Wanted to shout out Suicide Age 29. Want to shout out Logic Food, Shelter, and Clothing. Want to shout out Latasha Pope. Want to shout out those who have their channels and those who are building lives and impacting other people's lives. Continue to do your due diligence in the community. Keep your heads up. Stay strong. Again, my name is Ace from Ace Corner Talk, and I just wanted to talk to you today. Today is a chill, relaxed day. I just wanted to get to a bill with the family, and hopefully all is well in your corner. So I'm going to start off by reading a little bit of content. Anything that I may use is for fair use, and it's not in any way, shape, form, or fashion being used with any ill intent or any misguidance or direction in what is being said. So I thank you and I appreciate you. Okay. We're going to talk about major depressive disorder. Major depressive disorder is a serious medical issue affecting an estimated 15 million adults, American adults. For many, their depressants may not be working well enough. A large study showed that 2 out of 3 people taking an antidepressant still experience symptoms of depression. It is important to know that antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts or actions in some children, teenagers, or young adults within the first few months of treatment. Pay close attention to any changes, especially sudden changes in moods, behavior, thoughts, or feelings, and report such changes to the healthcare provider. Symptoms of depression may last for 2 weeks or more, occurring nearly every day. Symptoms of depression may last for 2 weeks or more, occurring nearly every day, and may include a depressed mood most of the day, feeling sad, empty, hopeless, or on the verge of tears, loss of interest or pleasure in activities you once enjoyed, weight loss, even when not on a diet, or experiencing weight gain, Also note, also note decreases or increases in appetite, difficulty sleeping or being overly tired, restless or feeling slowed down, fatigue or loss of energy, feeling worthless or guilty, a lack of concentration or difficulty with decision making, thoughts of death or suicide. You have been on an antidepressant for at least 8 weeks and still dealing with symptoms of depression. Talk to your healthcare provider to see if adding some other medications may help. Now, me personally, I believe that you can self-medicate, find natural remedies to kind of help you with some of this depression. And I'm definitely going to get into some of the things we can do to help with the depression. So today I just want to talk to you about don't suffer in silence. A lot of times, what's up, Queen C? What's up, Logic? Glad you're in the building. A lot of times, depression, it hits it hits our doorstep, and we're unaware that depression comes in the form that it comes in. Sometimes we are clueless to the fact that depression can hit my door, your door, or anybody else's door. And a lot of times we seem to be in the rush mode or in that everyday hustle and grind, and we're not aware that we could be under the influence of depression. Now, there's many ways I can attack depression, and there's many ways that I can speak about depression. I can talk about it spiritually, and I can talk about it naturally. For those who are spiritually inclined, those who, know the Bible or talk about the Bible speaks about depression being a spirit, and it comes in the form of oppression. Oppression causes depression. So we can go biblically or we can go naturally. But one thing I do know, that it's a silent killer. I know depression, it can branch off into many different things that causes long effects in our life. So thank you. If you have tuned in, we are definitely talking about something that is prevalent in my life, your life, children's, animals. It can come from so many different angles that we have to be aware that when this does hit our doorstep, when it does enter into our life, we have to deal with it accordingly, because if we don't, we'll begin to operate and be under such a stress because of depression and not really notice or not really pick up on the depression symptoms. So I just want to talk to you today about depression, okay? So depression have different forms, and it has different levels. So there's different levels to depression, and it comes in many different forms. Depression can attack our social life. All right. One way when depression attacks our social life, what happens is we exclude ourselves from interacting with people, not wanting to go anywhere, not wanting to be active when you once was active. Maybe you went to, lifting weights or doing something real active in your life, and then all of a sudden you kind of like backed off of that. Depression will cause these behaviors. It will cause you to relinquish from the things you used to do and exclude yourself. So what will happen is It will allow you to shelter yourself from the world. Like, okay, I don't want to deal with nobody. I don't want to deal with nothing. I don't want to interact with anyone because I feel this way. And I want to classify that under the umbrella of depression. So it does definitely attack your social life. It definitely hinder you from doing the activities that you used to do. Sometimes a lot of people were real active, real busy doing things, and upon getting under that spell or under the spirit of depression or under the attack naturally from depression, you relinquish doing the things that you used to do or being cited to do. Depression, it can hinder you, and it can attack your environment. Depression can attack the environment that you're in. It can attack you. And one thing that I do know, whoever you're around, you may lash out at them. Whoever's in your corner or whoever might be a voice in your ear, it will begin to affect how you deal with people. It will affect how you deal with individuals, and it will affect how you respond. So your environment does play a major role in your depression, if you should have that. It plays a role in your people, places, and things. When you talk about depression, it can last all day. Depression can last from week to week, month to month. Depression can last for as long as you continue to stay in that state, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you can continue in the depression so much that it will begin to consume you. And when people look at you, you don't have that glow no more. You don't have that shine no more. You don't have that enthusiasm about life. Because life can bring many excitements. Life can bring joy. Life can bring so many different emotions. But when depression comes, it suppresses those emotions that you have. What it does is it comes and suppresses all of the positive emotions you have. So when you start acting out, when you start responding, everything you do is going to be under the umbrella of that depression. Everyone that experienced depression is not necessarily, and I want to say this with conviction, but it's not necessarily mental, even though it's a mental illness. Now, I think it evolves to a mental illness after a while when it goes unchecked. Now, because what happens is any and everybody can get depressed, even animals. They can get depressed as well. They can be in a stressful environment. And this is for animals. Animals can be in a stressful environment, which would cause depression. Or say the animal's attached to you and you leave for a couple of days, it can get depressed for not being in your presence or not being interacted with you. Now, I just want to drop that in there just in case people might say, well, animals can't get depressed. Yes, they can. Very much so. And will exhibit behaviors. You're wondering why the dog is chewing up your sneakers and tearing up your clothes and chewing on furniture and stuff. Sometimes that is a form of depression. I want to talk about how the depression, if goes unchecked, can turn into a mental illness. Now, a lot of the people you see out here today, that some people might say they're crazy. Well, that's a crazy person right there. Just because they may look crazy physically does not mean that they're crazy. Just means that they might be internally ill with depression. And it's crazy that, when we used to see the crazy lady or the crazy guy talking to himself or something, it could have been something dramatic or something traumatic that happened in their life that caused that depression to enter into their life and remain there. Maybe it be the loss of a loved one. May it be loss of a wife or husband or a child. That depression can definitely enter and remain in their life if they're not taught or sought any type of professional help to help them with the thoughts and to help them gather their mind and put everything back into perspective to help them with that depression. Depression, when when people when it's diagnosed as an illness, people usually 9 times out of 10 they're taking medication to help them with that. So they begin to take medication. They begin to get on antidepressants, things to help them with the depression. Now, that's more or less getting into the the, the middle or the severity of depression, because not all depression needs medication, and not all depression needs to be addressed from a medical standpoint. Some depression can be dealt with by yourself, because if you get active in doing things that is positive, it can raise you above the depression state. May it be that you're not feeling mentally stable because you're not active in your life. Sometimes you got to get active. Sometimes you have to do things that will help and cause you not to be mentally stuck in the position. See, some people get stuck right there and don't know how to mentally rise above that situation or rise above where they are at that particular time. So sometimes when you're dealing like that or in that state, you have to find things to do. See, one thing I have found out that when you're involved in hobbies, right? When you grab a good hobby, something that you want to be involved in that helps you out, something that's good for you. I can only use myself for an example. I can say some things that help me as stress is like I get busy with my hands. I like to build. I use my hands, and I do a lot of riding my motorcycle. Little things that I've found comfort into helping me with my stress. I try to do those things as often as I can when I feel like you got to know that your body gets off. And every time your body gets off does not mean that, you just, you're out of the loop. It could be very well that the depression is trying to ease its way in. So when you notice that depression is easing its way in, then get busy doing something that'll help you from focusing on one particular thing that might be contributing the stress into your life. I want to say, what's up, Blessings? Blessings here. What's up, Eddie? Addie Frost. Peace to all of those in the chat. So when that depression begins to seep into your life, you have to take a different look and another approach to dealing with that stress. So that way, when the stress comes, you can bring the stress level down, and it will not turn into depression. I try to get busy, get active soon as I see it. Now, some people find comfort in reading books. When somebody feel depressed or something, they'll read a good novel or read something that might help them get out of that depression. I don't think it's any one necessary thing that you can do, because there's variety of things you can do to help you with the depression in your life, because everybody gets hit with it. I don't care. You can try to pretend that you're the strongest man in the world, mentally, emotionally. Depression comes, and it comes when you're not aware of it. You think you're handling things in the right manner, but depression comes, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with it now, and it's like it has took such a root into your life. You are no longer operating like you used to. Now, I seem to want to say that depression is more or less, it comes subtly, kind of gradually eases its way in there. Sometimes there's a situation where depression is abrupt, bam, and then you get hit with it, and it will cause you to react in such a way. But 9 times out of 10, depression is subtle. It comes in and it lays dormant, and it begins to ease its way into your life. And then before you know it, the depression is so strong, and the heaviness of the depression is just right there. You won't even see it. You just know something is wrong, but you may not see it. Somebody else will see it. They'll say, "Well, man, you losing a lot of weight, bro. You all right? You know, you're getting kind of bags around your eyes. You all right, bro? You know, you're getting a little gray up there. You all right?" So there's many different things people on the outside might see, but you might not see it. And that right there is the for sure sign that stress has eased its way in there somehow or another. Also, your eating habits. When you begin to start eating and overindulging in certain foods, that is a for sure sign that there's depression working on the inside, right? When your body gets depressed, when you get depressed, your body goes through a certain change. You might get headaches, you might get your stomach aches, you might get different little things that happen that will cause you to see depression entering into your life. When you get those severe migraines and headaches, that could be a for sure sign that depression has entered in somehow or another into that body of yours. So you're dealing with depression and you're trying to figure out why am I feeling this way? Why I got these headaches like this? And you go to the doctor and he says, well, what's going on? What kind of activities have you added to your life that is causing the depression now that you have in your life? Or what kind of thing you're doing that's causing the depression? See, I see the signs and symptoms in a lot of people, even in myself, how depression will cause people behaviors to go as far left as it can go. People lashing out, people using their emotions to operate, using their emotions when they used to be sound thinking people, when they used to think sound, when they used to respond and act sound. Now they're moving in such a way that something is wrong. You might can't pinpoint it, but you understand that something is wrong. Why are they operating like this when they never did before? Why are they moving in such a way that that is causing an offense to people? People cause an offense to each other, not knowing that they might be under pressure and under stress. And then, with that being said, they're abandoning the emotions and they're subscribing to being depressed. I think I'm gonna say this: being depressed is not a choice. This is something you don't choose to do, right? People might think that, well, all you got to do is just you don't have to do. No, it's not that you have to do that you did it or did something. It just comes. But it's learning how to deal with it once it do hit your doorstep. Because it comes to each and every one of us. Situations, life situations, these things come. It comes. It's not that you can do anything to stop it. But once it do come, we have to learn how to deal with it. Once it's in your life, once it's in your body, your mind, your heart, we have to learn how to deal with the depression so that it does not become a illness. We don't need any more ill people out here running around and being under such a pressure, that they're just responding and doing things without thinking logically or without thinking emotionally or without thinking, period. Just going off the fly. What about when somebody loses their job? And I'm gonna say this with a lot of compassion and care, because this is not something I'm sharing to make a mockery out of people that are in this condition, because it's very serious. But somebody that was in the postal office and they go, and you ever heard the term, I'm gonna go postal? That person lost his job and was working for 30, 40 plus years. Now they don't have the income. They don't know how they're going to support their family. And that traumatic experience of losing their job caused them to go crazy or bonkers. They grab a gun, get to shooting and killing people because of that depression. They probably went home, thought about it for a couple of hours, and immediately got depressed and grabbed a gun and out there killing people. So that should give you an inkling of how serious this can be. This ain't something that you can just throw to the side or push under the rug or sweep under the rug when you experiencing this, because it's a very serious thing. The nature of it is very serious in itself. And once depression tries to attach itself to you, you have to properly learn how to deal with it. Don't take it lightly that, I know I'm depressed a little bit, but I'll shake it. That you have to have a responsive attitude when it comes to depression. You can't allow it to lay dormant. You can't allow it to just sit right there in your being, in your state of mind, because once you do that, you'll start doing things and not consciously being aware of what you're doing. You ever been driving, you just miss your exit? You just driving in deep thought, depressed about things. You done passed 2 or 3 exits and realize your exit was back there. You're supposed to get home and the exit's back there. That right there. I had a friend of mine, and although he just said he was getting dressed in the dark, he came to work with two different shoes on. He had one blue boot and one brown boot. And I said, man, how'd you do that, bro? You know what I mean? One big, heavy, large boot and one small boot. And he was like, man, I was just reaching in the dark. And I was thinking to myself, like, maybe this brother's depressed, man. I mean, when we look beyond the surface of things, when we lose our loved ones, because it eventually happens. We lose people that are dear to us. We lose, people that we care for. And what happens is, when we have not prepared ourselves for that very moment, which is hard to prepare for a loss of a loved one. I'm not saying that meaning prepare, but if you know somebody's up in age and you really revere them dear to your heart, depression can come after you lose them because you haven't mentally prepared yourself to deal with that. So depression can come, and depression can actually hinder you in how you feel. Or, break in a relationship. You might have broken up with somebody. You might have broken up with a girlfriend. You might have broken up with a boyfriend, and you get depressed. The things within the situation enough is stressful. You're not getting along. You're arguing with each other. And all of a sudden you got the breakup. But then after a while you get to realizing that you love them. You want to be with her. You want to be with him. And that depression comes in. Certain things like you're being cheated on. Like maybe your spouse or girlfriend or somebody, or boyfriend or whatever, husband, they cheated on you. And then you go into a spiral of depression. Right? Some of these things happen. And nobody is exempt from this hitting their doorstep, but it's learning how to deal with it once it does hit your doorstep. I want to talk about getting active in your spiritual life can help with that depression. If you start to get busy in church or get busy in your mosque or get busy, whatever thing you do spiritually, getting active in that, because that'll help bring down the stress level that you might be occurring. Joining some type of meeting or something, maybe going to some type of meetings that can help you see different point of views, hear different aspects of life. Just being around a different environment, different people can help you with that. Being able to talk out your issues and problems. Maybe you can find a good friend, somebody that is a sane person, somebody that will give you good information, will give you good factual information, and good things, and be honest with you. Some of those things can very well help. trying to trying to get busy, maybe going to the gym, working out a little bit, getting your cardio and getting all your different health issues dealt with. That can help you relieve that stress. So when we begin to go down this road and talking about depression, the stress, and talking about the ills and the wounds of our lives, when that depression comes, we have to attack it, and we have to allow the opportunity for yourself. Give yourself the opportunity, the space of time to deal with the depression. Don't get too active and busy that you don't realize you're under this stress without dealing with it. Sometimes you got to take off, go on a vacation. Sometimes you got to do other things other than the normal. When you're doing something repetitive in your life, you're repeating the cycle of life. Work, home, kids, work, home, kids, work, home, kids, and you have not done anything outside of that to alleviate the revolving pattern in your life. It can cause stress. So sometimes you might got to say, you know what? Work, home, kids, ride my bike for 2 hours, read a book for an hour, go to the gym for an hour, gossip for an hour. I just threw that in there. But just talking about different things or getting involved in different things. Watching TV shows might help. I don't know what might help for you, but there are things that you can do that can help you with that stress. Because it's a silent killer. People are dying over stress. And people are dying over this mental disorder. When that stress comes in your life, it can lead into the depression state, which can kill you. Depression kills. When stress comes, then comes depression. If you can catch yourself in the middle ground of the stress, contain it there, and don't allow it to become a depression, then you can navigate through life and continue on your journey. But once that stress becomes depression, that means it stayed there too long. That means you nursed it too much. Okay, if that brother ain't coming back to you, you gotta shake the dust off your feet and keep on moving. Don't sit and beg them. Don't sit and try to convince anybody of anything, whether it's male or female, whichever the reversal of roles are. Don't sit there and nurse it too long, because you can get depressed. You can get in a state where you start thinking suicidal thoughts or thinking crazy or wanting to harm yourself. Don't sit and let it lay dormant. Okay, if somebody don't want you, don't you sit there and allow them to have leverage over you and use you. Don't sit there and allow them to play the game with your mind and your emotions, and giving them the power to feel like they got you under control, because it's a very serious thing. And I see this happen all too often. You can watch many as TV shows as you want that are being presented right now, and it just shows a lack of concern for the well-beings of individuals that might be depressed. Half of these people on these TV shows and the reality shows are depressed. They begin to start doing things, and you say, man, why are their actions like that? It's because they're depressed, and then when somebody sees you in a depressed state, they'll take advantage of you. So for men and women, don't you bow down to somebody that is in a inferior state, or in a state where they feel like they have leverage over you because you are in a depressed state. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to you, her, him. We can't allow these things to happen for so long without checking it. That brother or that sister ain't coming back to you, shake the dust off your feet, keep it moving. If your family members don't understand you, say you made a change in your life for the better and people just can't get with that change, maybe it's time for you to keep it moving. Okay, love your family from a distance. See, I understand that you don't understand the change in me, or you don't see how I'm moving or evolving. to try to better myself. So since you can't see that, I love you from afar. Peace. God bless you. I'm out. All right? Sometimes you got to do that. Don't be scared to distance yourself from people who are not going to have your life in their best interest, or have you or regard you in their best interest. You got to be careful, because if you get connected or hang out with people or deal with family members that don't care enough to see you in a depressive state and want to add positively to you in that state, I think it's time for you to withdraw from them. Cut ties, keep it moving. Don't let yourself stand and take the mental, emotional abuse of somebody that sees you in a condition like this and will not offer you the hand, or will not want to help you. I think what's up, Logic? What's up, everybody? And see you in that state. I find myself trying to do more when I feel like I'm not doing enough, or in that stressed, borderline depression state. I try to get busy, but I think in my case I get over busy. Like, I do so much that I'm not realizing I'm probably adding more to my plate, or adding more stress to my plate, because I'm so engulfed in trying to bombard myself with more things to do. And I'm finding out that happens in my life more in the past than now. I'm dealing with it a lot different, but in the past I used to bombard myself with so much stuff. I used to just workaholic. Job here, job there, this, that, cutting hair, doing my side job, doing my construction job, doing my main job, this, family. And then all of a sudden, I'm finding out that I'm overwhelmed, stressed out, and depressed. But now I'm learning how to relax a little bit, learning how to set back, taking time to strategically do things without adding more stress to my life. See, I'm learning a lot from watching some of my elders, even some of the people that I have worked with in the past. You know, when I was on my job and I see how they work real fast. I was working real fast, and that's just me being young, and the type of energy I had. I'm working fast and doing things, but then I see them working much slower, but actually getting the job done in the same amount of time I was working fast. And I never realized it. Like, sometimes you got to pace yourself. Sometimes pacing yourself and allowing your thoughts to catch up with you can help with the depression, can help bring down the depression level. Because what happens is we begin to overexert ourselves, and we get depressed very quickly. I see a lot of people where their mindset, the state of mind that they have, is so off. The state of mind, the state of being is so off that, you know, they don't know how to keep focused. They don't know how to keep on that track of life. A lot of people think that, you know, if you got money, that people with a lot of money don't have these issues about being depressed and things like that. But I think when you got more money, you got more problems. That was one of the late great Biggie Smalls lyrics. More money, more problems. When you begin to take on a lot due to your money issues and stuff like that, that depression comes in, and it hits you. I know, and this is factual, you can Google this, but there was billionaires that killed themselves because they lost millions. Now here it is, you're a billionaire, and you killing yourself because you lost millions. But some people, they review what they're doing in their life, and they review things very seriously. So to me, I would be like, man, you're a billionaire, but you lost millions. Why would you kill yourself? I'm only thinking from the aspect of the money aspect of it. But for somebody to take their life over money, I say that that's not serious. But when you're depressed, looking from the outside in, you don't know what the person is going through unless they tell you. And this brings up another point of mine. You have to be vocal and you have to speak. Don't hold it in. That's how it becomes the silent killer. That's how depression becomes the silent killer, is when you hold it in. If nobody knows what you're going through, then how can anybody be able to give you sound advice to help you? Sometimes you have to share things with people, but make sure it's the person giving you, and make sure the person is qualified to give you the right counsel. May it be a good friend that you had a long time that you know is going to give you good advice. Just make sure that that individual that you get the advice from is credible and has a track record of giving you some good advice. Just don't go to any and everybody, because they could potentially give you some advice that can be more damaging than it can be helpful. So, money issues causes depression. Too much or not enough. You know, people are depressed because they don't have a lot of money, and they might be in a impoverished situation. Poverty might be at their doorstep, and they might not have a lot of things, and you know, they might not have enough to keep them going from day to day, so they get depressed about it, which is a very, very serious situation. Not having enough can hurt and can put people in a terrible mental illness or state. So sometimes you have to, just because you don't have a lot, don't mean you can't manage until certain things come about. You have to learn how to strategically work your way with what you're doing. Strategically find a way to make more money. Don't go out there selling your body. Don't go out there doing crazy things just to get a quick buck, because even that could add more stress. Well, I'm just on a stripper pole because I need to get through school. But you got so much stress between doing that and trying to maintain school that it's hard for you to even maintain being focused in school. So don't do something to create another problem from a problem that's already existing. Sometimes you have to think wisely and get counsel so somebody can help direct you on how to deal with some of these stresses and depressions in your life. Now, as I see it, we go through the everyday struggle. We combat the struggles in life. We combat the issues in life, and we try to maintain ourselves. We try to maintain from being depressed, being stressed out. But as it stands, it's a very difficult thing if you don't change the habits and behavior that you may have. But I'm getting ready to play this clip, and I want you to sit back and just listen to this clip real quick.
With over 350 million people affected by depression worldwide, it's no doubt an incredibly real and serious issue. But what exactly is going on inside of a depressed person? Is there a biological basis for these intense feelings of sadness? In the past, depression was often described as simply a chemical imbalance in the brain. Specifically, scientists believe that a lack of the neurotransmitter serotonin was to blame, which is often referred to as the feel-good chemical. However, the only real evidence for this was that when some depressed people were prescribed drugs which increased serotonin levels, it helped alleviate their symptoms. But while chemicals most certainly are involved, this view doesn't really capture just how complex depression is. In recent years, scientists began to notice that the brain cell growth and connections may actually play a larger role. When we look at the brain of a depressed person, studies show that the hippocampus tends to be much smaller than average. Other areas of the brain are also physically affected, but this region in particular controls memory and emotion. And the longer a person has been depressed, the smaller the hippocampus becomes. the cells and networks literally deteriorate. It turns out that stress may actually be a main trigger in the decrease of new neurons in this area of the brain. In fact, studies have shown that when this region of the brain is regenerated and new neurons are stimulated, mood improves. Interestingly, many modern drugs, including those which affect serotonin levels, have an indirect effect on the growth of brain cells. This is likely why serotonin based drugs seem to help some patients, but not for the reasons we once thought. Instead, they promote the release of other chemicals which ultimately stimulate neurogenesis or the growth of new neurons. Knowing this, some scientists now believe focus should be on drugs which directly affect neurogenesis. But while your neurons and chemicals may be the direct influencers, many genetic factors have been discovered as well. One particular study found that a variation in the serotonin transporter gene leaves individuals more vulnerable to depression. Every individual has two copies of the gene, one from each parent, and this gene can either be short or long. After tracking 800 young adults over 5 years, the study revealed that 33% of individuals with one short version became depressed after stressful life events, and people with two short genes fared even worse. On the other hand, those with two long genes were much less likely to become depressed with similar life stress. Many other genes have been identified which increase the likelihood of depression too, and it makes sense when you consider that depression and bipolar disorder both run in families. Studies of identical twins show that if one has bipolar disorder, the other has a 60 to 80% chance of developing it too. So while the true cause or causes of depression have yet to be pinned down precisely, and trust us, there's a huge list of other variables that studies suggest may come into play, it's important to remember that depression is a disease with a biological basis, along with psychological and social implications. It's not simply a weakness that somebody should get over, or even something that we have a say in. And just like heart disease or cancer, shedding light onto the subject is of the utmost importance in order to bring funding and proper research. But is depression only a human phenomenon? We look into the question, do dogs get depressed, in our latest ASAP Thought video and discover the many studies done to understand depression among other species, including your pets at home. You can click the link in the description for that video. You can also check out the book Animal Madness by Laurel Braitman, which touches on the subject. In fact, you can get it for free from our friends at Audible by going to audible.com/ASAP. Audible is the leading provider of audiobooks with over 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature. You can download this audiobook or another of your choice for free at audible.com/ASAP. And with a subscription, you get one free book a month. Special thanks to Audible for making these videos possible. If you think you're suffering from depression, we've included some resources and more information in the description. And subscribe for more weekly science videos. With over 300...
Okay, so you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. You kind of get the idea about depression. Some depression is, like the video said, it could be hereditary. It can run into the family. It can run through the family, and you can inherit the genes of depression. It's a very serious thing when we start to experience depression, when we start to go down that road. So I want you to take this very lightly. I don't want you to just bypass this as something as something minute or small in your life. Take it as what it is. It's a silent killer if not checked. Don't let it go undetected. You can check your stress levels. You can check your depression levels. You know, you'll know when that body get to acting up and your mind get to acting up. You just know that there's a sign of depression that is trying to enter in there somehow or another. Watch the people you deal with, the people you talk to, and so forth. Kind of keep yourself in a place, in a mental, in a good place, good headspace. Don't let people stress you. Don't let people mentally put you into don't let them put you into a box, or don't let them put you into a headspace where you're lashing out and you're acting up. I just want to say I appreciate those who came by Ace's Corner Talk today to talk about a serious topic and matter. Thank you for being a part of Ace's Corner Talk. Hopefully you gained something out of this video. I want to say thank you to my wife, Queen C. Thank you to Logic Food, Clothing, Shelter. Thank you to Addie Frost. Thank you to Blessings Here. And thank you to all of those who are subscribed to Ace's Corner Talk. It's greatly appreciated. Like, subscribe, and share. Until we meet again, I'm Ace from Ace Corner Talk. Peace. Have a good day.